Welcome to the Awakening Table. We are Calliope and Petros, and we created this channel. It's a way to share our experience of going through what's known as the dark night of the soul. We're currently going through it in different stages, and we do this knowing that others are going through it as well. And we hope that by sharing our experiences, we may be able to help you with your journey.
If you enjoy our videos and content, please show us some love by hitting like and subscribe and the notification bell to be notified when a new video is out. Thank you. And we'll be talking about today the ego, dissolving it, and what does that mean, and what's going on in my head.
I think she's lost it. I think she's lost it finally.
Ooh.
The ego. Oh God. Every time I watched a YouTube video or read a book and talked about ego death, I actually got frustrated because on an intellectual level, I sort of understood what that meant, but it was hard to really feel and understand on a more practical level, this ego, and ego death and all of these things. Um, what did you think?
Well, it was funny because, like, for some reason, I wrote the true self and the ego on a piece of paper because I don't know where that came from. It just came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, this is what I need to work on.
Yeah.
So actually, I think I know how it happened because I was listening to Self Actualized, and then I realized I had to do like like my forgiveness to my family, to myself. And then that's when I wrote down all the ego side of things. And I was like, okay, now these are the other barriers I have to work on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I suppose the whole ego and ego death thing, as I'm starting to understand it more and more, it's the understanding. First of all, it's the understanding that in this physical existence, there are certain parts we play and certain characters that we play, and wear certain masks. And it's understanding that those are external to us, but not who we actually are.
Mm.
But we've identified as those things as if we are those things. And it's understandable because we live in a world that requires us to play parts. And I think ego death means being able to understand that, okay, I'm not those things. Those are simply parts that I play for the purpose of this physical existence, if I can put it in those terms.
Mm.
But I'm something, I'm that, I guess, sorry to sound guruish, but I am that which observes and recognizes the external masks and parts and characters that we play.
Mm.
So then it's trying to understand and connect with that observer, if I can put it that way, and feeling, okay, well, what is that or who is that? And what does that mean for my existence now moving forward? And
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people struggle, and it's a bit of a journey to get to that point.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
breaking down the ego is like a lot because we don't even know half the time we're doing certain things, or maybe we picked it up and learned it from others. So we brought it on ourselves.
mm,
And that's where the ego just grew even more.
yeah.
But yes, where was I going with this?
Well,
Yeah, we
I
continue
was going
to.
to say, because something you said there triggered a really big thought for me. Sometimes we don't even know why we do things, and sometimes, we have beliefs that we say are ours, but if we really sat down and reflected or analyzed them, we realized that they were other people's beliefs that we took on. You know, our parents, said that you need to become a doctor or a lawyer to have a respectable job, and anything else,
Mm.
being a musician is not. No offense, I'm just using a very hypothetical example. Please don't fill our comments with hate. I don't hate musicians,
We
and I
love
don't think that
music.
they're lower on any scale at all. But these are some examples of the kind of thinking that was around when we were growing up that we may have picked up as being truth,
Mm.
but not our truth. So there's a
Yeah.
conflict that we're not aware of, or that is there subconsciously. Um, so I guess this dissolving the ego also means cleansing, any untrue for us beliefs that we're carrying as if they were our true beliefs.
Mm.
It's not just about disconnecting from false personas, characters, and the masks, but it's from understanding what do I really believe or feel. What are my real truths?
Yeah. And we all have our own truths. It doesn't have to be equal to you or to mine,
No,
because like what you experience, what you've learned, and what you grew up with is your truth,
correct.
and what vice versa. So, and that's what I came to realize not long ago. We're sitting with a group last week, and we're discussing about this, and so basically, we have our own truth, our own experience, our own faults or strengths, which we need to develop on our own. So that's what
Yeah,
is part of the process is.
because even if you share the same truth with someone, your path to that truth is different. And as we walk our path, and prior to, I guess, awakening, prior to our dark night of the soul, we pick up things and we put them on ourselves as badges, but wear them as if they're a part of us. We lose sight of the fact they're just a badge that we've patched onto our clothing, right? We're neither the clothing or the badge. We're more the body that's wearing them, if I can use that analogy. So ego death, I guess, is about realizing either again or for the first time that we are not the clothes or the badges we've patched onto the clothes, but we're the body wearing them. And to allow that to come through and to live knowing the difference between the two. So, but again, it's not easy.
Not easy.
Yeah, and a lot of the anguish and a lot of the fears and anxieties that come with this journey is because our ego self, if you will, has been so conditioned by everything out there that the idea of it dissolving or no longer having the hold over us or being as relevant as we've made it is a scary thing to it. And I'm talking about it as a separate entity because in a way it is. It is. It's not even an entity. It's a false entity. It's a made up entity.
That we created on our own from going throughout our lives. So,
and from all that conditioning, there's going to be resistance, and it's going to trigger our brain, which is there to help us survive. Going to trigger all sorts of negative and dark thoughts, and it's disconnecting from those and seeing them for what they are, and getting used to saying, you know what, thank you for that thought. It's not true. I'm not in any danger, and I'll be fine. I don't need to do what my ego wants me to do.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to take time and practice. It's been a year for me now, and I'm still very much working through it.
Yeah, for me, 3 years, and I'm learning more about myself during this process because there's certain things I've been conditioned with, and that, or maybe I didn't learn from my parents because they've been conditioned as well. You got to think of your ancestors, going back, and you have to kind of like ask yourself, oh, I didn't learn this because maybe they weren't taught. My parents weren't taught this. So, and then you have an experience with a friend, and then you have this sort of like epiphany or whatever, and you realize, oh, I didn't know about, for example, boundaries. One of them was boundaries. I had to learn about boundaries, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't ever taught boundaries, so I had to learn how to put boundaries, and that was one of the ego lessons, I would say, that I had to experience.
And you're right. Part of the process of that ego dissolving is you might need to also let go or forgive certain situations or people as you realize certain things about yourself and about life. You're going to learn things. Some things will be easier to accept than others. You're going to learn to let go, and it's going to be easier some days than others.
Yeah.
And it's about just stepping into a truer self. Again, I don't mean to sound guru-ish, but it's about stepping into your more authentic and truer self and connecting with the self, I guess, that survives after we leave our physical body as well. That's a whole other topic of discussion, but we might do something on that one day, but we'll see. Um,
Mm.
but you know, it's not about getting rid of the ego, is what I'm
No,
realizing,
like
because you
we grew
still,
up with that. Like we were born with the ego, so we do need the ego, but not in a sense where it overrides the true self. You know,
correct.
you got to still be your authentic self.
It's more a tool of navigating through certain aspects of our physical existence,
Mm.
right? At work, if you're working towards, I don't know, a promotion, a little bit of ego is needed there to get you through. Is that a good example? I don't know, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. There is some need, but it needs to be a tool, and a tool used flexibly,
Mm.
not taken on as who you are,
Yeah.
because then that makes you false and inflexible and in conflict with that deeper sense of being as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
Um,
And you rather like keep a balance with yourself and your ego because you that's still you, you know, like that's who you are, like as a whole. So, but try and acknowledge and be aware of yourself, therefore, and the things that we've been grown up with, like, you know, like with. So that takes time to develop. Once you've come to aware of it and acknowledged it, you grow with it. You grow with it. You learn from it. You experience even more other journeys through it because you realize, oh, I didn't know about this, or I understand that, or I've
mm,
met someone that has a different language barrier or understanding to my understanding. So you kind of like put yourself in other people's shoes to realize, okay, maybe this is something I lack of, or this is something I need to build on, or maybe this is something I didn't know about myself that is a positive or negative, you know, and
yeah,
bring it together, sort of thing.
yeah, certain things that you felt you had to have or that you thought mattered dissolve. Like it's not about, you know, how much money you have or how many things you have. It's
Mm.
about how are you with yourself? How are you with other people? You
Yes.
know, are you being authentic and genuine and true to yourself as well?
Mm.
You know, it's not to say that you don't want that, trying to have, a lot of money in the bank is a bad thing or that you might not want to pursue that. It's what's behind it that changes.
Mm.
And it's about being more flexible with with doing that. So it's not so much about the outcome per se as it is about the journey
Mm.
and the purpose behind that journey.
Mm.
So yeah, it's
It's a tough one because you know, like for some people, they may say, "Oh, you just love yourself," but you gotta love yourself. You gotta have that care for yourself and be aware of the let's say two sides of yourself. Because if you're one side is playing the bad person, the other one's the good person, then and you don't realize it within yourself, others may see it, or others might not, and you might, you know, it's like deceiving your own self, but you're not
yeah,
because you didn't know, and then you grow with it, you become aware of it, and then it's like, oh, okay. So you gotta have that care for yourself as well. So
yeah, and I think it's interesting you say that because I think just as you were saying that, it occurred to me that perhaps that's part of the process as well. It's about sorry, it's about learning to take care of yourself and attending to yourself and becoming good with yourself as well,
mm,
with your truer self.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah, because you know, instead of having hate, would you want to replace that with love? You know, if you
yeah,
instead of having fear, would you want to replace that with joy?
yeah.
So it's like that.
And
You
it's
have a
about
balance.
finding that in your
Yeah.
life as the new you that you're becoming.
Mm.
Um, be active in that one. You might not be feeling that joy and happiness right now,
Mm.
but it doesn't mean that it's not there for you. It's
Mm.
just you're finding what brings that out in you. It's already in you, but you've just got to find what brings that out in you.
Yeah.
And it's an explorative process.
Mm.
It can feel it can feel a lot uncomfortable and scary, but just know you just keep working on it, one foot in front of the other. You'll get there.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
The whole idea is like to keep to be harmonious with yourself and and that comes together as one, as
Yeah.
a whole. So yeah, and that takes time. So, and discipline. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Is discipline. You're learning
In
to,
a world of distractions and quick fixes, discipline has become almost a lost talent.
Yeah.
But you'll need to develop that discipline, and
Mm.
again, it's part of the process. It's
Mm.
not easy. It's not a.
Mm.
It's in many ways not fun.
Mm.
It requires my favorite P word: patience.
Mm.
Bloody patience.
Bloody patience.
Um, and just faith,
Yeah.
faith and persistence.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah. And there was one experience like I can mention regarding the ego. I was like used to be like from an experience I had a long time ago, very bad traumatic experience I had. I developed a very short-tempered, angry type of, like I was angry all the time and getting angry over little things and whinging to myself. And I started to realize, oh my gosh, do I want to be that person? I don't like the sound of myself, you know. I'm like, well, how did I come to this? You know, where did this angry person come from? Like, is it doing anything for me? No, it's not. So I was watching one day on TV. They were talking about the bad wolf, the white wolf, and the good wolf and the bad wolf. So I went in front of the mirror. I'm like, don't feed the bad wolf, feed the good wolf, because that way I can practice. Every time I felt angry, like I would say that straight away. So that way I could notice that I'm doing it and then make a change for myself to practice, get developing better, for me not to be angry anymore.
Yeah.
So that was a technique, one technique that I saw on TV, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try it for myself. So yeah, and that helped.
Self-reflection, self-assessment
Yeah.
is a big part of it. Going behind all the emotions and feelings and actions and reactions, and asking yourself, what's behind this? Why am I doing it? And just working through it. And just it'll take time, but you'll get there.
It took me time to do that because I was angry for a while, few years, and it just got really ugly, and I just act really irresponsible. So I thought, let's make a change for myself, and change my swap that ego, stop being angry. Like change that to be more patient, more calmer, more caring. Yeah. So it took time to develop that.
I think it's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed, please click the like button, subscribe, and notification. We thank you. Peace be with you. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.